our advisors at the time were like, don't go into project management. It's the most crowded space. So like, what are you going to do? There's 400 tools. You're going to be better than them. And honestly, I just love Zeb's answer. It was like, yes, they suck. That was his exact answer. He's like, they all suck. I don't like them. I don't like using them. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going all in on this. And I remember when we were first in Palo Alto, I played a lot of sports. I still do. And it's a good way to meet people, especially when I was in Palo Alto. So I was on this basketball team. And one guy, everyone kept trying to talk to him. I never asked him what he did, but come to find out he's at Sequoia. And at the time, I didn't know much about VCs, but I found out that is one of the biggest VCs in the game. And this guy took interest in me. He's like, how are you guys here? You're some young kids. You live on a pretty prominent street in Palo Alto. What's going on? I need to come check it out. So he does. And he's like, okay, you guys are onto something. Let me bring you into Sequoia. So we take our first official VC meeting. Way too early, but we go in, they wine and dine us, and Zeb tells them the story. Hey, look, we're not just building project management, we're building one app to replace them all. We're going to build every single piece in all of these. And they laughed at us. They really did. They were like, that's cute, but you're not going to replace all the apps. So like their advice to us was to niche up, go after just agencies or go after one part. And thank goodness we didn't listen, because that really is our product market fit now. And I'm so glad that Zeb had the confidence to say no to these big people. And now they're Sequoia trying to be in our last round, and we didn't choose them. But they definitely wrote a letter and sent some cool notes saying, we remember when you came in, and hats off for not listening to us and going and building it.
It's really important. So I talk to a lot of marketing agencies, like people who want to start like a social media agency, or they want to start some kind of marketing. And I usually recommend to them that they niche down, especially to learn the industry. What was cool about your story, I think the reason that your CEO and you had so much just zeal behind your project is because you understood what you were doing. It wasn't like, we're just going to go out and do marketing. You were like, I understand the ins and outs of why this is going to work and why the pain points that other people feel. Because you built something to solve people's pain points, right? That's what you really did. And so when they said niche down, you were like, no, we've already experienced it. And it gave you that confidence where other people, I don't think, would have had that confidence. Did I get that right?
So true. And it is like we niched down at the beginning, because we'd already done this for ourselves, right? We built it for ourselves, and we worked with agencies. We worked with different niches, so we understood what they needed. And Zeb being a multifaceted CEO, he's not just, most CEOs are either product or they're marketing or they're just like a sales guy. No, Zeb got involved in every single piece. And I think that's when he kept realizing there's an issue with project management even here, even in sales, even in products. So he kept saying they're everywhere. So he did want to fix them all. And I think you made another good point that kind of just reminded me. In the early days, we were obsessed with it. This is part of my thing, is I was sales and marketing. I didn't know what I was going to do when they were building the software. I was like, how am I going to add value, Zeb? And he was like, we're going to study everything about this market. So every day I'm going on every review site, Capterra, GitApp, every single one of these. I'm looking at all the reviews. I'm seeing what they're complaining about Trello, what they're complaining about Asana. And then I'm making sure I pass that information back along so they can build solutions for that. And then as we release those solutions, I go back and say, hey, Henry 412, I saw you have an issue with Asana. We fixed that here. Do you want to try ClickUp? And it was a very guerrilla, slow way, but we learned, we kind of learned the market and then got customers that we really knew we were fixing their problems.
It also helped you build your product too, right? Because you're going, everybody's saying this about this product. We need to position against that. That also doesn't just work for marketing. It works for building out your product. And I think that's genius. One of the things that really drew me to you, and the reason I wanted to bring you on this, because I think this podcast is because I think you could help a lot of the agencies. You have a very unique way of looking at marketing. You don't look at it the way that most people look at marketing, right? And so one thing right now, I see ClickUp everywhere. So that's obviously a branding play right now. You guys are in full branding mode, and I want to talk through that. But first, the guerrilla marketing. How many hours a day were you spending on that guerrilla marketing, going out there on the message boards, interacting with people?
So our days were strict. In the Palo Alto house, we were to be up at 5:30, doing a stand-up every single day, saying what you did yesterday and what you're doing today. And that had to sound very full, because it's with the CEO, Zeb, who is probably the most efficient, effective person at work I've seen. So every day you're getting better, you're learning, you're moving faster. We were spending, we were working 16 to 18-hour days, and that's no exaggeration. We would take a break for sure for lunch. We were allowed to watch like a TED Talk around 6 or 7 or go shoot some basketball. But it was really like a boot camp almost. So I would say I was spending easily sometimes 8 hours a day just on that part, depending on what the day was. Sometimes it could be 5, sometimes it could be more. It was just depending on, what part of the stage we were at. But in the early days, that was the majority of what I was doing. I was working to get us on these sites alone as well, so we could start competing. But studying every single review. Later, I'll get to it. One of the big plays I think we made that really set off ClickUp was paying attention to the market and seeing that another tool was going under. But we could get to that. But the amount of time we spent was insane. And the thing was, again, there's only 4 of us, so I'm the only one running that. You have Zeb running product. You had Wes running operations, and Alex Rakowski was our CTO and co-founder, also running development. So I'm the only one doing that. But I had to, again, at the end of every day, present that. And so it was perfect because I was like their liaison to what's going on in the world. They didn't have time to study it like I did, but I could give them a report and say, hey, look, I don't understand all these features, but I see people complaining about Gantt charts not moving this way or, communicating with tasks not working this way. And then they could take that into the product. So it was a beautiful assembly line that we had.
That's awesome. So you said that we had to get up at 5 and then we'd all work these days. Like, tell me a little bit about that structure. Like, was obviously you live in a house, so it's a little bit different, but how did everybody get on the same page of this is what we're doing every day and this is how long we're grinding and this is what we're aiming for?
Zeb had a clear vision. Before we took equity and before we came on, he was very clear about we're going to earn this, and I'll never forget, he did tell us, hey, look, this is going to be the hardest 3 years we've ever experienced, but this will be $1 billion company. And I remember thinking, hey, look, even if it's not $1 billion, it's still pretty cool. And
I'll be good with 100 million, right?
yeah. I'll take 250 if we get there. But it was worth my time invested. But he was right and beyond. And I knew we would get there. I knew we'd get big. I didn't know it would be this fast. I'd be lying to you if I said I was 100% sure of it. But I believed in him, and so he set those ground rules for us, and we all followed. And no one questioned.